Hello everyone, back tuning into this morning's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next few days. In this morning's video, got some really wet weather coming up actually across England and Wales in particular. Friday and Saturday looks very wet indeed. Beyond that, there's some question marks about next week. It looks like it's going to turn very cold yesterday once it got through next week. Not quite so certain today, but I'll explain the reason for that as the video goes on. Now, before I go on with the video, I just want to mention the advertising because I'm trying out a new video advertiser. And you can find the new video ad sitting just underneath my weather video here at gavswebbiz.com on the home page here. The video ad is sitting just underneath my video. So please play those video ads because you'll be supporting gavswebbiz.com if you do that. Thanks very much for doing that as well. I've also got the new video ad on my written page as well. So again, if you just go to the written page, you can play the video ad while you're on the page, and you will be supporting gavswebbiz.com by doing that. So we're going to start off with the facts chart. Remember, the facts charts are the human interpretation of the models by the forecasters at the Met Office. We've got this cold front coming down across the country as we go into lunchtime on Friday. This is the facts chart for lunchtime on Friday. This area of low pressure to the west of Scotland is dominating. The weather will be in a warm sector, so it'll be a bit milder tomorrow, but this cold front is going to take a long time to move down and clear the country. So there is the position of the cold front at lunchtime on Friday, just coming to these western and northwestern parts of the country. As we move out to midnight on Saturday morning, we find that cold front hasn't moved that far. It's actually lying across central parts of England and Wales, producing some really heavy rain. As we move on into lunchtime on Saturday, so this is 24 hours on, then the cold front is finally starting to clear the east and southeastern parts of the country, but it takes about 24 hours there really for that cold front to push across England and Wales. So there is going to be the potential some really wet weather. And if you have a look at the GFS forecast for the 24 hours from lunchtime Friday to lunchtime Saturday, well, there's the heavy rain in the north and the west as we move through Friday. But as we move on another 6 hours into Friday evening, this is 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday, so it's turned very wet across England and Wales. It's cleared Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it's very wet for England and Wales. And that rain just carries on there really for the rest of the night. So as we go out to midnight on Saturday morning, we find that rain is still going across England and Wales, perhaps weakening a little bit, but another pulse coming back into the southwest, moving on another 6 hours, well, turning very wet then across much of England and Wales. Once again, that secondary pulse pushes back northwestwards or northeastwards across the country. And it's not till lunchtime on Saturday that rain finally starts to show signs of clearing the south and the southeast. That's a good 24 hours worth of persistent and heavy rain across much of England and Wales Friday into Saturday. No doubt there will be the risk of some localised flooding with that. Now, going beyond this, it looks yesterday as though we might start to introduce that easterly wind back across the country. Not quite so certain today, and the reason is that this area of low pressure remains very much in situ really across the British Isles, or at least it does on the GFS. The ECM is different. We'll have a look at that in a moment, but first of all, we'll start off with the GFS. This is the chart for Monday at midnight on Monday morning. 985 millibar area of low pressure sitting there across England and Wales. As we move out beyond that, really the low pressure just sits there. We have got the blocking up to the north, really good blocking across Greenland, stretching out into the Arctic, going down into Scandinavia as well. Everything looks poised really to introduce this cold east or northeasterly wind back across the country. But until this low pressure moves away to the south, we can't really open the floodgates to that very cold air. So as we move beyond that in towards Wednesday, well, there's the low pressure there, just still sitting really across the country, not doing much, not going down to the south, not allowing this easterly wind to be reintroduced across the country. Now, it is quite chilly air associated with that low pressure, but it's not the really cold air that we've got up to the north associated with all this blocking. As we go out towards the end of next week, we start to see a bit of a change now with this low pressure in the Atlantic coming in, and perhaps introducing a milder southerly wind by the end of next week. But this is over a week away. It's very speculative, and of course it all relies on that low pressure not moving away, not reintroducing the easterly wind. If it does reintroduce the easterly wind, then everything beyond that is somewhat different as well. So the upper air temperatures for next week showing that, well, there's all the cold air up to the north and the northeast. Now, yesterday it looks like this cold air was going to move down across the country on an easterly wind. But as I say, this low pressure is just sitting here across the country, just stopping this cold air coming back in from the east and the northeast. Now, the cold air does get reintroduced to Scotland. It's quite chilly air anyway associated with this low pressure. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a heat wave or even particularly spring-like feel next week with this low pressure. It is quite chilly air. But the coldest of the air is kept up to the north because this low pressure is not moving south. But nevertheless, you do have the -5 ice firm there for much of Scotland and Northern Ireland as well going next week, so it will be cold up there. But the really cold air, the proper cold air, is kept maintained up to the north and to the northeast of the country. And then as we go to the end of next week, there's that push of southerly air, bringing that milder push of air up across the country. But notice the cold air, very cold air, is still very, very close to the country over Scandinavia. It's still perilously close, and it wouldn't take much of an adjustment at all to reintroduce this across the country. Now, I say the ECMWF is quite a bit different to this, and this is the chart from the ECMWF model for Monday. The low pressure there sitting right across the country. So we start next week very similar to the GFS. But look what happens as we move on to Tuesday. We start to push that low pressure further southwards and eastwards. The easterly wind is coming into Scotland quite nicely there, bringing that bitterly cold air in from the east. By the time we get through to Wednesday, that low pressure has cleared away into central parts of Europe, and then we're all back into this east or northeasterly flow. So by the middle of next week, the ECMWF does have it turning cold across all parts of the country. We've got a weather front here across the country, which would be producing quite a bit of snow, I think, in many parts of the country. So the ECMWF much colder, much more wintry as we go out through next week than the GFS model. Now, as we go to the end of next week, the ECMWF does have this area of low pressure forming in the Atlantic, and it starts to push out northwards and eastwards across the country. We don't really get the push of southerly winds that we do on the GFS, it's more of a southeasterly. This low pressure is coming into that cold air as well, so that's something to be aware of later next week if the ECMWF is right to develop a battle really between cold and mild air. And that could produce some snow as well. The upper air temperatures quite a bit colder on the ECMWF than we see on the GFS. This is the upper air temperatures for, or these are the upper air temperatures, I should say, for Monday. The low pressure there across the country, bringing in the -5 ice firm to the north and the west. Look what happens as we go through to the middle of next week, and we clear that low pressure way to the east. Yes, we start to push down that cold air again from the northeast, bringing the -10 ice firm back into northern eastern parts of the country. Bitterly cold air returning. Then we've got weather fronts associated with this as well. A trough is there over the country that would be producing snow, and we keep that very cold air going into Thursday. Again, the -5 ice firm is in the north and the east, bitterly cold air up there, and then we get that push of southerly winds, or we try to get that push of southerly winds as we go to Friday. It's more of a southeasterly action. A proper battle is taking place here, producing snow, no doubt, in some parts of the country. And what happens as we go beyond that, just interestingly, is that we maintain that battle really with southern areas getting a lot of heavy rain, milder upper air, whereas the north keeps that really cold air going. There will be a lot of snow across Scotland and northern England associated with this low pressure as these air masses battle it out across the country. So a real battle goes on then on the ECMWF in its latter stages. So that's it. It looks like we're in for a very wet period going into the weekend. Very unsettled, particularly for England and Wales, Friday and Saturday. Could well be risk of some localised flooding, so do watch out for that, particularly if you live near a river or a stream. As we go into next week, there are uncertainties. The GFS wants to keep less cold air across the country, although Scotland is quite cold, but the ECMWF wants to turn it very cold and wintry again next week. So we've just got to wait and see really what happens. I'll update on this tomorrow if I can. I've got quite a busy day tomorrow, so not sure if I'll be able to update. It'll probably be late on if I do. Otherwise, it's weekend forecast on Saturday. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.